I'm Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a technique video for you. This technique can be used in Bible journaling, in art journaling, and memory keeping, anything you like, and it's a way to get the most out of your printables. This is one printable file that I have from apileofashes.com. I'm a member of their sticker squad, and I use their printables in a lot of my projects, especially in Bible journaling and in my planner. And printables are so fun. They're such a great way for someone that maybe doesn't feel like they have the ability to draw or doesn't feel like they are necessarily an artist. They can still get creative with printable products. After a while though, even just printing on white copy paper or white cardstock gets a little bit old, and there are ways that you can use your printables and change them up and give them new life, even if you've used them over and over and over and over. So I'm gonna show you a few ways that I've discovered. None of the techniques are perfect because art is imperfect and there's just things that happen, but it is a fun way to kind of stretch your creativity, stretch your money that you've invested in your digital files to let you use them again and again, and just to give you a spark. All right, I'm gonna put you on fast forward and we're gonna get going. Like I said before, I am a huge fan of printable files, digital files that you can print out and cut up and use in your art. For me, drawing is not my talent. I like playing with color, I like playing with texture, but drawing an actual picture is not something that I feel super confident in. So sometimes printables give me an idea or a jumping off point, or even just give me the picture I'm looking for. But I found that even though I love printables and I was using them a lot, I started to get a little bit bored with just printing them on white cardstock. Clear sticker paper is an awesome option, but it is kind of expensive to print out over and over again. So I started thinking, how can I change up my printables? What you see me doing here is I have a vintage book that I bought at a thrift shop for about $2, and I took a couple pages out of the book and I'm adhering the pages onto a regular piece of 8.5 by 11 printer paper. It's just the basic cheap printer paper that you can buy, and I'm using some old washi tape that I haven't used in forever, and I'm putting it down. The important part when you adhere it down, don't have the washi tape sticking over the edge of the paper, and don't have bits that can that are kind of ragged that can get caught up in the printer on the side. So you see me in the first few examples here, I completely cover the edges of the sheet so that there's no rough edges showing, I guess you'd say. And on this corner, you'll see I had kind of an imperfect tear out of the book, so I just covered up that little torn part as well. So I start out with those vintage book paper. I love the yellow edge, the yellow look to the paper. I think it's just a fun background possibly for a printable item. Next is tissue paper, and I heard of this from Allie Brown on YouTube, and I will connect her channel. She is wonderful and lovely, and I saw that she, who is a very gifted artist, had printed out a couple of her paintings onto tissue paper so that she could use them again in her art journaling. So I thought I would give that a try, and as you can see, this was kind of some wrinkled up tissue paper. It made me super nervous, the wrinkles. I wasn't sure how my printer would take that, if it would get caught. I think the ideal would be if the tissue paper were completely flat, perhaps some fresh tissue paper newly out of the package. This is some leftover tissue paper from some gift at some point that I keep in one of those big bins of all the gift bags and bows and such. So I decided to pull it out and give it a try. It was a little bit finicky getting it on the paper, trying to smooth it out as much as possible. And so you're going to see me fuss with it a little bit. I think what would have worked better on this case is to cut the tissue paper a little bit smaller. I think it was too big and went all the way to the edges and caused me to have to fold this washi tape over the edge, and in the end when I printed it, I think that may have caused a little bit of an issue. So next time I try it, I will definitely cut it a bit smaller so that it fits more easily on the page. Now, I put these through my printer. There were a couple of printer jams, and you'll see that in a little bit. However, they all made it through. There was no issues with my printer getting messed up. It just got caught just like it does with thick cardstock sometimes. It just doesn't handle different materials very well. So make sure before you try any of this, really think about what your printer can handle and maybe look it up and see. I would hate for someone to get this stuck in their printer. I don't think it would do any permanent damage, but just be sure before you give it a try. Like I said, all mine made it through, and it was a fun experiment. The third material that I am going to try printing on is wax paper. This is just standard wax paper that many of us have in our kitchens, and I'm going to follow the same procedure of cutting it to size, adhering it to the regular white printer paper with the washi tape, and covering up all the edges as best I can. The trick with the wax paper is that when the images are printed on, they are not going to be dry. You have wet ink on there that you can then use to transfer on to a Bible page, to an art journal, to a planner, to anything that you are working on. So this one is not something that you print in advance and then just hang on to. You print it when you're ready to use that image, and I'll show you here in just a little bit how that works. The last material that I'm going to print on is this Tim Holtz Ideology collage paper, and it has a cool vintage feel. It looks a little bit and feels a little bit like wax paper. It's not exactly tissue paper, it's not exactly wax paper, it's somewhere in between. So I wasn't completely sure how my printer would handle it and what the image would be, if it would end up wet or if it would soak in. In the end, it did soak in, which I thought was a really cool technique. You'll see that I'm going to try and conserve some washi tape on these particular pieces and not completely seal off the edges. When I did put it through my printer, it did get caught a little bit on one of them, so I would still recommend going through and completely sealing off the edges so that it doesn't get caught up on your printer. I have all my different materials ready. I'm going to head to the printer, load them up, and start printing. Okay, I have an Epson Workforce printer, and mine has a bottom loader. You need to pay attention to how your printer feeds paper through as you're loading your paper. So I have all my different sheets stacked up right here, and I'm going to put them face down because that's how my printer works. I just discovered this one has a little bit of tape. Make sure all of the tape is secured down. You don't want to send sticky tape through your printer. It'll get caught. And it'll be ready to go. So all of mine are right here. I'm going to put them face down inside my printer, making sure everything is situated and putting it back in. All right, and mine should be ready to print. Okay, as I'm printing on my printer, something that you're going to want to double check is that the media type and the quality, I always put best quality. That slows down the printer, or at least it does for mine, and gives me a better print option. So we will give this a try. Okay, while my printer is finishing up printing some of the other images, I wanted to show you, this is the wax paper image. As you can see at the bottom, it got a little smeary, so I'm not totally sure I'll be able to use those, but these images up top are going to be super fun to use. So let me just show you. What I do is I cut around. I like to keep the back paper attached if I can, so I keep it with that little bit of washi tape. Do not touch that image because it is wet paint, literally paint from your printer, or the ink from your printer, wet ink. So you take it and you can simply turn it over, press it down gently, make sure it goes straight down and then lifts straight back up. And you have a cool kind of secondhand image, which I think is super fun. It's an alternative to using clear sticker paper. No, it doesn't give you the perfect picturesque image necessarily that sticker paper would, but it doesn't bleed in your Bible doing it this way. And it just gives you another option. And I like the idea that you can layer pieces very easily. So again, I cut around, I kept some of that washi tape right there. And I'm going to, this time, kind of layer over the top of where that other flower was. And press it down. And then lift straight back up. And it looks, to me, it gives it kind of a vintage look, which I think is super fun. When you do this technique, you are printing, or you are getting the reverse image, if that makes sense. Because when you cut it out and turn it over to lay down, that is the reverse of what the image is on the page. So if you're using words, then you would have to flip the image on your computer to print. But for most images, they work well both ways. See how fun that is? And it allows you to kind of layer in a way that you wouldn't be able to do with regular die cuts. Plus, now these images at the bottom, you can see it did get a little messy. I'm getting a little bit of ink on my hand, so I'm gonna be really careful. Messy down there, but I don't mind, especially if I were doing like an art journal page. I just wanna see what's gonna happen when I put those over the top, kind of layer a little bit. See what that effect looks like. And up. So it's interesting, as you can see, it's gonna be translucent. So if you're using this in your Bible journal, you can put this over text and it's gonna be translucent. You'll be able to read through it. One word of warning, all the colors end up being a bit lighter. So if you have an image that has black in it, and you are trying to use this transfer technique, then that black is going to come out as a brown on your paper. So keep that in mind as you're working. I try to do more watercolor-like images. I'll try this one right here. Some more watercolor images. So I think they just give a better feel. Okay, before I start to cut these out, I just wanted to show you what happened in the printer. Now, I am sure that any printer or any printing company would tell you that this is probably not a great idea to feed different products through. To me, I'm a risk taker. I'm willing to see what happens, and my printer survived and I'm just fine with it. So here's the tissue paper. These were the ones I was most worried about, it just tearing and shredding. Again, I think part of the issue was the washi tape on the sides here that it just kind of got caught up on washi tape. So, but otherwise I think the printing came out pretty well on these two pieces right here. Here are the pieces from the book. They came through pretty well. The ink is not coming off right there. This one came through pretty unscathed, a little issue right here, but the page was torn. So I think that was probably part of the issue. And here's on the Tim Holtz collage papers. And those got caught a little bit on the side. That was my fear of using less washi tape right there, but this one came through just fine. So I think, I'm not really sure if there's a way to fully prevent that. I'm sure one of you probably has a really good way to do it, but I'm pretty pleased with the images. I'm going to cut these out. I won't make you watch me cut them all out, and then show you what the ephemera pieces look like in the end. Okay, here they are. In the end, I am left with a fun pile of die cuts, ephemera pieces that I can use in my journaling, art journaling, and Bible journaling. I love these tissue paper pieces that will be great for decoupaging. And same thing with these collage pieces. So fun to play with. As always, be really careful. Know your printer. Be willing to take the risk. Some of my paper jammed. I had a few issues, but my printer survived and I ended up with a lot of fun images, as well as the wax paper images that I already put down on that sample piece of paper. Have fun playing with your digital files. Don't just limit yourself to printing out on white paper. Expand your horizons, have a great time. Let me know what techniques you have tried and some fun things that you like to do with your printable pieces, and I'll let you know what ends up happening with all of these fun supplies. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And as always, keep it creative.